Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and the third set of the One Piece card game is finally out here in North America. I'm been very happy to be able to have the physical cards and play in person and everything else, and also kind of as part of me the celebration of set 3 being here tomorrow as of this video dropping, so that's going to be July 4th. I'm going to be doing a huge all day 12 plus hour stream going over some playtesting. We're doing some giveaways, and we're going to end with a big webcam box tournament that I'm doing at the end of the night. So should be a lot of fun. Highly recommend you guys hang out there and join if you can. I think it's going to be a really good time. But anyways, going on into this video, we're going to go over pretty much one leader for each color except for red, because red's too good to only talk about one leader. But just kind of my thoughts of some older leaders that I think are still viable in this upcoming set. I'll be honest that outside of red, there wasn't a lot of generic support for a lot of other colors. There are some exceptions, but this wasn't kind of like building up where a lot of older decks got support. Some did, but not a lot, I'd say generically. So that's kind of the idea for this one. And I will say, I think these are pretty good deck lists, to be honest. If you guys have any changes or thoughts, you can definitely go for it. I did kind of err towards showing more cards in the slots than just kind of definingly choose one, so you can see, and I'll mention them kind of going into it. But I think all of these are really good starting points for people who want to use these leaders in the upcoming meta, and then you can kind of tweak your own changes from there. So we're going to start off with the red, and we're going to start off with Edward Newgate, because this is probably the best leader in the archetype in the format, if not just top 3 in a lot of ways. So red was very good at the end of set 2, and I don't think that changed with set 3. But you get a couple of choice cards for not only this archetype, but this archetype is kind of open enough that it can kind of spread into the other one. So probably the first card that a lot of people kind of notice is Izo. Being able to have a searcher is fantastic. It's kind of absurd just how many archetypes don't have searchers, and that's kind of what's holding it back. But Izo, having the on-play look top 5 to reveal a white beard other than Izo, add to your hand and place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck is pretty strong there. So being able to search so many cards, just the fact it's a Nami for this archetype is great. And then we also have the new Marco, and this card is just absurd. I can't believe they printed this one without any restrictions or anything. It's stupid good. So your turn on play, you get to KO up to one of your opponent's characters 3k power or less, and then also on KO you may trash one event card from your hand. You can play this card from your trash as rested, so you can attack with this. And if you're tapped out, if you don't have any Dawn open, you can still pitch guard points and Whitebeard Pirates and Radical Beam to get keep this around. So it's just absurd how much staying power this has, and then having both this Marco and this Marco being able to just be around forever is very strong. So those are kind of I don't know, this 5-drop Marco just is power crept a lot. It's just way better than Vista's not being seen play anymore, just because for the extra 2 Dawn, you always just play this Marco and you get some kind of advantage from that. So other than that, you just kind of play your big bodies. Thatch I think is just needed. It's an 8k, which is just absurd for this deck. Imagine it, it's no longer a 10k with Whitebeard, with Moby Deck getting restricted, but there's that. And then if you like 4 drops and 5 drops, these two can kind of be put interchangeably, or if you only like the 4s or only like the 5s, it's fine. Obviously, it's kind of they're just worse in choice if you don't find your Marcos, but they're still strong there. And then Radical Beam, Guard Point, as well as Whitebeard Pirates, which you do want a couple of extra event cards, just because this Marco needs an event card to be discarded, not a Whitebeard card. And then just this card being both an event card and a Whitebeard card is just fantastic for keeping both your Marcos alive. So they're not even you never have to use this card. It's just your first pitch target whenever you need to keep one of these alive. So that is this deck list here. You're going to be probably very familiar with it in the next couple of weeks. And good. I don't know, Newgate's very good still. So, and then kind of on the same vein, we also have Zoro, which is still a very good too. Kind of as you'll see, a lot of the cards that we see in Newgate, or at least the good cards we still use. The kind of newer card, the exception, which you can also definitely play this card in Newgate if you like it, is Buggy. Can't be KO'd with / attribute characters and leaders, which is better than you think it would be. There's just so many obnoxious situations where you'll find yourself where I can't get rid of this. And even in the mirror match, their Zoro can't hit over your Buggy and vice versa. So, and the fact that it's a 1-drop 3k that also doesn't have any counter but does have on play. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 red event card, add to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So being able to find some events, you only run 12 in a deck like this, but that's still enough that it is pretty consistent. Even if you don't think of this like people are still playing 1-drop 3Ks in this deck. Like think of how much like Sunny is being played in regular Zoro, at least in set 2. So being able to play this, it's good. And it's a 1-drop, so you're searchable off the Dan. Like it's just really absurd in a lot of ways. So very great card, and I think that's important for this deck and kind of just red in general, just being able to have like this kind of this 1-drop that kind of gets out of control at times, but very strong. So obviously we're still seeing Marco in these, we're seeing Newtate, we're seeing that Izo, because Izo can find a lot of good things for this deck. And then also we have like the Marshall D Cheech here as well. So this is a choice card I didn't want to include just to talk about it, but and you can also play this in Newgate if you want to. I don't see as many people do that, but it's a 4-drop 6K, so it's good on curve. It doesn't have a counter, which means it can be stuck in hand, but when attacking you may trash 1 red character in play with a 4K power or more. And it's I believe it's and you draw 1 card, then this character gains plus 1k power during the battle. So being able to be 7k, I'm pretty sure, I think this is a mistranslation, OnePieceCard.dev. I'm 99% sure it's your own characters, you can't trash your opponents, but being able to like become an 8 or 7k and then draw a card is great. And the 4k power simply means that it's a card with 4k power, even with Dawn. But since we're playing Zoro, gives everything plus 1k. For example, you could just even if like you don't have like the Dawn for like a Dan or like an Izo, even like an Otama, if you want to pump this up to 5k pretty easily and then use Teach to get rid of it and get a card draw afterwards, I think it's viable. So that's something I think this deck can be very good at doing, like getting draw advantage and then also like the 9-drop at the end. So you're not seeing Nami, you're not seeing as much of like the Straw Hats in this version. You definitely can still use those cards, but you're kind of leaning more on the Newgate stuff, and so there's that. And then also kind of the Luffy. This one this one's a little bit less untested, but I do think Luffy's very viable, but the issue is that it's not as viable as these two, right? So like in the grand scheme of like viable decks, Luffy's really good. Luffy's still better than like most decks and leaders in the archetype. It's just like it's the middling red leader right now. It's not as good as Zoro, I think, as Newgate, but it's against the pack of what's in the meta. It's still honestly very good. It's just kind of overshadowed by that. But and again, it's just the fact that like I think a lot of the new red cards and all the traditional red cards are just super strong, that any red leader is viable. Like Uta could probably still be viable right now, and it's still sneak wins, even if it's just a red leader that has no text, essentially, in something like this. But anyways, talking about this guy, some just different changes, and just kind of talking about Nami obviously was one of the best cards in this deck for a long time. And if you are wanting to play like more Straw Hat stuff, I think this is a good one here. I might be a little bit gritty with running as much as I was with this, and we did take out like Hurley to Dan since we aren't playing like the Gordon, and also you don't see like Makino in this version either. And if you do want to do like Makino and Magura, you definitely can. I just think like the more tempo with the Whitebeard's been a little bit better, but I don't know. I will say like I do think like there are some decisions for deck building for a lot of these red decks. I know a lot of people will be kind of groaning like, oh, I lost Newgate or Zoro, but there is decisions. It's not, there's enough red cards and there's enough in the card pool now that you do have to make some deck building choices, which means that I've chosen this card, which means that I don't want to play this card, and there's some situations where that can impact it. So, but anyways, I think Luffy's still good. If you like Luffy, go for it. I think it is just worse Zoro or Newgate right now, but because I don't think there's anything particularly better about it right now either. You can also play like the Vista, and then also like the Nico Robin if you want to play like that version where you're kind of like the board control, but I think you're a little bit too slow. And I think there's just too many decks that get out of like the traditional like DP stat lines. That's a little bit trickier to get rid of them. But here's the Luffy list, and I'm just gonna this is a footnote, but Trafalgar Law, it got like no cards. Like most of the other cards are kind of based off like Izo and Buggy and Marco. All of them are kind of like their own different archetype. If you want to play like something like Marco and something like this, I think you could, but I don't think it's needed. And I think just the traditional stuff. I think Trafalgar Law is just still in a good spot. You sometimes will just still get your 5-drop loop off, and your opponent just can't answer it. It's just too much value. So you do have to be worried about just how aggressive that Zoro can be in the early game, and you are a slash type leader, so you can attack over the Buggy, which can be, again, really obnoxious a lot of the time. But I do think I think the deck is still great. I don't think there's anything wrong with Law. It's still going to be topping 100%. They just didn't get really any support from this new set. So there we go there. All right, next up we have Kid, and we've seen the Supernova build for a bit, and we have been seeing the film version creep up a little bit. So we're going to just talk about this. Green did not get a lot of generic support in this set, and I'll be honest, most of the cards in green specify East Blue type characters, which I don't think is like wrong from like a card balance choice, but it does mean like it kind of got alienated from a lot of the older stuff, as well as like the East Blue stuff is just fine. I'd say I wouldn't say it's amazingly great. I have been enjoying playing Arlong a lot, but mostly like the yellow half of it, right? That's what's making the deck better. And Kuro is neat, but I haven't really hit my stride with that one either. So I think that just traditional green Kid, I've seen results in Asia where they're pretty much just playing the set 2 Supernova version, and they're still getting tops with it. So I think the deck is good. I am just kind of looking at the film version a little bit because I think it's a little bit neater in this current time, but it's pretty simple. This is mostly a set 2 deck, and the only deck I kind of snuck in was the Craig, which is a pretty strong card in its own right. It is maybe a little clunky in hand at times, but being able to play at 6, trash one card from your hand to KO up to 2 of your opponent's rest characters that cost 4 or less, and then also dawn times 1, this character gains a double attack. So being able to get a double attack on this body is kind of nice. It can help you put some pressure later game if needed to, and like the board clear is great. So if you're playing against something like Zoro, you can use the Craig to kind of help establish board again, or even something like Trafalgar Law, and I think that's good. Even stuff like Newgate, if they're playing like their 4-drops in their rest mode, then using this Craig to kind of just force damage is great. The only issue is that it's sometimes difficult to having 2 of your opponent's cards with 4 costs or less is a little bit tricky, which means that sometimes you're just pitching a card from your hand to get 1 card off the board. But I think this is still a good card at 2. It just stinks that like a lot of the East Blue stuff is just really relegated to the new stuff, new leaders, and you just can't port them back, which again, I think is good for trying out new leaders, but I know a lot of people do like use this kid, and just how flexible and open-ended this leader is in a lot of ways. So again, the Supernova build is good too. So if you guys like that one, go for it 100%. But I've been liking film, so here it is there. All right, Doffy, we have blue, and I still like Doffy more than Crocodile right now. I had a lot of people tell me, specifically on my tier list video, that Crocodile is a lot better right now, and I 100% I tried. I really tried to make it better and try it out, and I still like Doffy more. And I don't think, and people can tell me that Crocodile is better than Doffy, and we'll see 100%. And I'm open to being wrong about that, and just being just a bad Crocodile player when I was playing it. But I think Doffy is in an okay spot. There's just a couple cards that it got too. Again, most of the blue stuff was more East Blue centric and kind of Nami focused in that way. But I do like Kaya. Kaya being a 2K that can help you cycle cards if needed is good. It's a -1 in hand advantage, but it's just a 1 cost. So I think this is a good card to try out, especially like there may be times in Doffy where like the top 2 cards of your deck and you like, oh, I can't, those aren't cards with my leader to use. So that can be kind of helpful there too. What else do we have? And it's just the fact like we can have some scenarios where like, oh, we can play Doffy 3-drop, look at the top 5 cards of our deck, say, okay, put the 2 cards I need in my hand on top, and then like the third card is what I can use from my leader, and play Kaya and rearrange them from there. So even if you like a 3-3 split, that might even be better between Alvita and Kaya for the cycle. But and the other card is 3000's World, so place up to 1 character's cost of 5 or less at the bottom of owner's deck, and then trigger is just 3 or less, which is a little shame. I wish this definitely could have been 4 or less. I don't know why they made it 3 or less, but 5 or less hits a lot of things. This is like the best card in the game right now to get rid of Marcos, because this is just how it works. So I think that is it's a good card for blue in general, just having an open card for it. It's also Straw Hat Crew, which might make a difference later, but I think that's it. But otherwise, it's the same deck that we've been seeing. I do think you can get a lot of value from what you do with this deck, and we'll see if that ends up being the case still. So I did put in Sentomaru. If you guys don't like Sentomaru, take it out, but this is the build here. So this is my Doffy list, and then we're going into Magellan. Magellan actually did get a good amount of support in this. Just a couple cards though, but it's still something for it. We got the Mino Rhinoceros and the Mino Zebra. Also, is Hydra's that too? Yeah. But the Mino Rhinoceros, if your leader has Impel down, you get to draw 2 and discard 1. So that is technically a +1. It is a 3-drop 5k with no counter, so you have to be worried about that. We also have Mino Zebra, where it has Banish, and then you get to ramp 1 if your leader has a Impel down type for it. So I do like the deck, and since you do have more cards, like just having more of the Minos means that you can play the Impel down card. So activate main, you can trash 1 card from your hand and rest the stage. Look at 3 cards, reveal up to 1 Impel down type card, add to your hand, and place the rest of the bottom deck in any order. So since we have just so many Impel down cards, this is a good cycle card actually now. I think in the previous set it was a little bit risky, and you're a little bit kind of catty cornered into playing just bad cards essentially. So, but obviously like Impel down has like a weird amount of support. So if there are other Impel down cards that you are wanting to tech in, you definitely can. But again, also Sadie is fantastic now. Now that we have, you can run 16 different cards that this can find. So being able to get that extra little amount of boost is very good there too. And, having a blocker, a double attack, banish, and card cycle, I think is helpful there. So other than that, deck is good. Magellan, 5-drop on curve, can sometimes just mess up your opponent's Dawn curve that they're looking for. There are some decks, especially like yellow. Like yellow definitely wants to get to 10 as soon as possible. So being able to mess that up can help you out too. So I think the deck is, it's in a good spot. I don't think it's 100% viable, but the support is nice. And it's I don't know, even this adding a few cards kind of reinvigorates a deck like this, which is cool. So I think that's all I have for this one. I think you should check it out. I think it's fun. And there we go there. And then lastly, we have Smoker, which Smoker was doing pretty okay, I'd say, in set 2. It would get the occasional top here and there, and it's more of this is probably the last time I ever do this, but I kind of compared it to set 1 Kaido, where or Kaido from the Star deck in set 1, where it had answers to every situation, but you had to find them at the right times, and you didn't have a good way to do that, right? You're just having some times where you wouldn't get to you just wouldn't find your pieces when you needed to, and you get kind of clunky with it. So but this you get like a tiny bit of support in this one, which I think is good. So we do have like the brand new, so it's a searcher for Navy, which we didn't have previously, but on play, look top 3, reveal a Navy, then add it, and then trash the rest. So I'd say this is a little bit understated in the fact that it's a searcher on 2, and it only looks top 3, and it's only for Navy, and then you trash cards. So I'm a little upset, like why they decided to make this a lot worse than like most other searchers in the game right now. Especially since I don't know, unless they thought that Navy was so good, which we do have a good amount of Navy cards, but I don't think they had to restrict it as much as they did. I'm really surprised that they did, but it's still a searcher. It just means that we have to run a lot of Navy cards, which isn't too terrible for us. But we are kind of, again, restricted a little bit because of that. So, but anyways, I think it's good. And then some kind of new cards for us. We do have the iShow, which I think this card is great, but it's going to be less great as the meta goes on, in the fact that, your opponent's going to get hit by this once or twice, and then they're going to recognize that this card exists, and they're going to stop. If they know you're going to be at 8 Dawn or more next turn, they're going to be down at 5 cards every time, which is fine. Which means it's still doing something, but it just means that it's a lot harder. It's also, I will say, I played a lot on the sim, in that it's a lot harder for you to be sneaky with this in person, if you have to ask how many cards are in your opponent's hand. There's so many times where they have 5 and you try to hit their life, and they say, okay, fine, I'll take that one hit, and then you iShow afterwards. But he's okay. But also just the Dawn -1 effect in conjunction with Smoker, I think is fantastic. I think it helps the deck out a lot too, and is very good for getting that extra pressure with not only this Smoker, but also with the double attack Smoker. It's gets you kind of back into the game, and the fact that this card doesn't get KO'd by card effects is so good. It's very, very good right now. There's so many effects and so many decks that care about like popping cards compared to like last set. And so just being immune to it wholeheartedly is just great. And that's kind of like what Black is transitioning to. We do have like Fukuro being able to not be KO'd by effects on both players' turn, which is great. And then obviously Borsalino, which has been a staple since release for Black too. So I think that's very good. Last card is Khalifa. It is a 2k counter, which is already good. And then on play, you get to draw 2 trash to give something -2 to their cost. So it's just a really good toolbox for what you're doing. And I think the card's great. So, and then we do run a couple Kuzons. If you don't like this card, don't run it. I think like sometimes it's just super bricky and you just never have time for it. Obviously, it's very cool and very strong for when you are able to, you know, resolve it and keep it on board. But it's not. I don't like it's super funny. Like this is a 10-drop 10k. Like if you compare this to like the Big Mom, like it's a 12k. Like if this was a 12k card, it'd be maybe even a little bit better. But 10k is not even that large to get over anymore, which is kind of a shame. So, but being able to KO something, being able to give something -5 still is relevant in this deck too. But I think ISO is probably just more flexible and better in general compared to Kuzan. Even though it doesn't get a direct pop on play, the fact that even on turn 10 you can play this for 8, keep two open for impact wave, and make your opponent discard some cards and get some pressure. So, but that's that. I think that is all for this deck, and I think these are all my leaders and decks I'm going to be talking about today. So, I hope you guys enjoy these videos. Let me know what you guys think about these decks and some other leaders from previous sets that I may have missed that you guys think I should make another video for. So, but that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoy set 3. Make sure to like and follow here because there's going to be a lot of OP03 content in the next couple weeks as well, and that should be it for me. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.